أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Today we are going to discuss a topic that is called as food security. What is food security? Friends, this is about the availability of the food, provision of the food, access of the food, and affordability of the food as well. And this is about the type of the food which is consumable, which is digestible, which we can eat and digest. That is all about food security. So if we want to make our food secure, then first of all uh, we have to make available the food. Number one, we have to provide the food, and food should be accessible, and then food should be enough that its price should not be very high. It should be affordable, can be consumable by all kinds of personals or all kind of mankind. So if we want to make our food secure, then we have to make the food sources secure, because we get the food from animals, we get the food from plants. And if we are talking about the food from animals or plants, then we have to make the animals and plants free from the diseases. If the plants and animals, they would be free from diseases, then the food will be secure. And I am veterinarian, and I will talk about the diseases which are responsible for the spoilage of the food, or for the damaging of the food, for destroying of the food. So those diseases, there are so many diseases in dairy, prevalent in dairy, prevailing in dairy animals, in halal animals, like in cattle, in buffalo, in sheep and goat, in camels. There are so many diseases, and among all those diseases, there are certain diseases which are economically very important, including foot and mouth disease, including mastitis or mastitis, which is the inflammation of the udder, in which there is severe drop down, of the milk, and animals, they are producing very low milk. And similarly, there are so many other diseases like hemorrhagic septicemia. And number four, I mean, first of all, I discussed foot and mouth disease. Number two, mastitis. Number three, hemorrhagic septicemia. Number four, black water disease. And these are the diseases which are present in cattle and buffaloes, mainly in large ruminants. And similarly, brucellosis, mycobacterium tuberculosis, salmonellosis, all these conditions, they are producing so many economic losses, and also causing damage to the animals, and also reducing the milk production, and also reducing the meat production, and ultimately our food is becoming unsecure. Similarly, there are so many other diseases in small ruminants, including sheep and goat, and those are contagious caprine pleuropneumonia. That is very dangerous disease, prevalent or present in sheep and goat. And there is rinderpest, not in Pakistan, but now Pakistan is free from rinderpest. That is very good news for us. Initially, that rinderpest was creating problem in our sheep and goats, and they are giving us severe economic losses. Now, PPR, Pestidespititis ruminants disease, that is very dangerous disease, present in cattle, present in sheep and goat mostly. And similarly, there are so many other conditions which are creating severe damages, like enterotoxemia disease. That is also a very dangerous disease. One by one we will discuss about all these diseases and their clinical signs and symptoms and control and treatment as well. And I have already discussed about foot and mouth disease, hemorrhagic septicemia, black water, contagious caprine pleuropneumonia, enterotoxemia. In previous my videos, I have discussed, and I will still inshallah will continue to discuss more about all these diseases, and I will try more than my level best to create the awareness about these diseases. So uh, we are talking about food security when all our animals which are providing us milk, which are providing us the meat, if those animals will suffer from these contagious diseases or infectious diseases, then the milk production and meat production will be reduced severely, and ultimately there would be shortage of the food, there would be shortage of the milk, shortage of the meat, and ultimately the economics of the farmers or breeders, that will be at very low level, and ultimately food will be unsecure because there is very low production of the milk due to all these diseases, very low production of the meat due to all these diseases, and ultimately the prices of the milk and meat will be very high because there would be shortage in the supply chain of all these milk and milk byproducts and meat byproducts. There would be shortage because production is very low, and when production is low there is shortage in supply, and when there is shortage in supply, their prices rise up. So this is all about the food security. If we want to make our food secure, then first of all we have to understand about all these diseases, and we have to make our animals and also our plants which are producing proteins for us, and vegetables which are giving us so many nutritious agents, we have to keep all these things free from the diseases. So I am veterinarian, I am talking about animal diseases. So we have to secure our animals, save our animals from diseases. So for that purpose we have to vaccinate our animals in time. Number one, especially foot and mouth disease, against foot and mouth disease, hemorrhagic septicemia disease, against black water disease, vaccines are available, and proper schedule of vaccine that should be adopted, and that should all those animals should be vaccinated so that they should remain free from diseases. And particularly we should keep our animals free from infectious diseases, acute infectious and contagious diseases, which are communicable diseases from one animal to the other animal through direct contact or through indirect contact. And for that purpose we have to consider all hygienic measures, we have to act upon the quarantine measures, we have to keep in mind the biosecurity measures, so that we can restrict the infectious agents like microbes, which may be viruses, which may be bacteria, which may be fungal agents as well. We should break down the transmission cycle of all these microbes from one animal to the other animal. In this way we will be able to protect our animal from communicable diseases. We can then control the animals from infectious contagious diseases. So we have to keep all these things in mind if we want to improve our production of milk, our animals production of milk, and our animals production of meat. if we want to increase all these, we have to consider, we first of all we have to understand about these diseases, number one. Number two, we have to control those diseases through vaccination, number two. And number three, we have to act upon the other control measures like quarantine measures. We have to keep the animals is segregated when we purchase new animals from market. Then we have to keep them for 14 to 21 days in segregated farm area, where we have to observe all the clinical signs and symptoms which may be produced in those animals after keeping them in that farm, after new entry, after new purchase. So whenever any farmer or breeder, when he is taking new animal into the farm, he should practice the quarantine measures for 21 days. But it is different for different diseases. Around about 14 to 21 days, that is sufficient to keep the animals in quarantine measures and just observe them and check them and see all the clinical signs and symptoms. If animals they are showing the clinical signs and symptoms in segregated farm area during quarantine measures, then we should treat all those diseases according to the symptoms and signs. And regarding we should take lab tests, we should perform lab tests, we should take samples and perform lab tests, and then we should diagnose about the actual cause of the disease and treat that disease. After that, after recovery 15 to 20, after recovery from disease after 20 to 15 to 20 days, we should vaccinate those animals. Then we should allow those animals to come in the other farm animals. In this way, the transmission cycle of the microbes like viruses and bacteria, that would be breakdown. And when the transmission cycle is broken down, then we will be able to control all these diseases, and we will be able to improve our production in terms of milk, in terms of meat. So understanding about the diseases is very important. Number two, control measures in terms of vaccination, that is very important, and in time vaccination, that is very important. And proper trained staff should practice the vaccination. Untrained staff should not be there for vaccination at any farm, in any area, in any vicinity, in any community. For vaccination of an animal is very important to control the diseases. And if this vaccination is not going to be completely good or right, in proper way and right way, by trained staff, then the conditions of disease will prevail there, and we will not be able to secure our animals. So this is all about the food security, and I am working on the foot and mouth disease and its control measures, and I am also doing my research project about the transmission cycle. I am checking the actual condition of the virus, foot and mouth disease virus prevailing in certain targeted area of Bahawalpur, where imported vaccination is being done from previous 5 years. Vaccination is going on, and Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, there is very less, there is very minute presence of the virus in that area, which I have still observed. And now clinical signs which were very very high in previous 5 years, now the clinical signs of foot and mouth disease virus, they are not very high. Only few cases sometimes they appear, and we are actually trying to locate, and we are trying to fix the condition, that what is actual reason, whether it is the small ruminant area, or whether Those are the small ruminants like sheep and goat, which are not being still vaccinated with foot and mouth disease vaccine. Whether those are responsible for the transmission of the foot and mouth disease virus, or whether those are responsible, they are acting upon the reservoir host, whether they are acting upon, whether they are responsible for the maintenance of the foot and mouth disease virus. We are trying to just fix the actual reason why in that targeted area where vaccination is being done with higher efficacy vaccine, but still there are few cases which are producing the problem. What is the actual cause? We are trying to locate that, and I think that is the main reason behind it is the small ruminant, which are the sheep and goat, and which are not being vaccinated. We should vaccinate those sheep and goat against foot and mouth disease viruses. There are 7 serotypes of foot and mouth disease virus, and all those 7 serotypes, among those 7 serotypes, serotype A, O, and Asia 1, they are more prevalent in Pakistan. And among A, O, and Asia 1, there are certain other subtypes of all these serotypes. So we have to take samples from these sheep and goat, from cattle and buffaloes, from all other animals being reared in the farm. We should take samples from all those animals, blood samples, and as well as oral swab samples, to check which kind of serotype is present in all these animals, and which kind of serotype is being transmitted from large ruminants to small ruminants, or from small ruminants to large ruminants. So all these things, they should be monitored, and we are monitoring it, and we are trying to check out all these things. We are trying to locate all these things so that we can produce a disease free area, especially particularly initially foot and mouth disease free zone in that particular targeted Bahawalpur division area, and then that disease free or FMD free zone that would be expanded inshallah to whole country, and we will be able to make our animals more secure from diseases. We will be able to produce more and more milk and more meat, because when these diseases, they attack on the animals, especially when we are talking about foot and mouth disease, this disease is responsible for severe losses, for economic losses, because there is 80% reduction in the milk production and 80% reduction in the weight gain. So when we will be inshallah able to control this foot and mouth disease and also other diseases in some targeted area, then ultimately in our whole Pakistan, then we will be able to improve our production of the milk and production of the meat of the animals, and we will be able to market all those things in national market, as well as in international market, because Pak China economic corridor is a great opportunity for us, and we should get benefit from that. Thank you very much. This is all about the food security. We have to keep our animals free from diseases, and also our plants free from diseases, so that we should improve our food. We should make secure our food. We should make affordable food for all the mankinds. Thank you very much. Jazakumullahu khaira. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum.